review, so just FYI, it is being recorded. Oh, first thing, the on the consortium website, I did add a page under documentation under Primo VE deduplication and FRBR, and so there's a bunch of just links here right now. I'll organize this, but this is mostly what I captured in the meeting notes from Tuesday, and I've added a couple of things since then, but there's a lot of good stuff here. And I'll probably refer to this as we talk about the topic. But first thing, let me do this. Let me grab Amy's.
Hey, Wade.
Yeah.
Could you share your screen?
Oh,
Please.
yeah, good idea.
I went to go looking on the website for that documentation. Is it under catalog?
It's under Primo VE.
Primo VE, you had just said that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm sharing my screen now. So under Primo VE, deduplication and FRBR, that's what I was. Oh, and I guess I could paste a chat.
Yeah, I think I missed this site. I thought it was the WACTC site. My mistake.
Yeah, it is. It is. It just redirects to the. It's hosted on Big Ben LibGuide, so that's if you just type in WACTC, it'll just redirect to the Big Ben LibGuide site. You can navigate from there. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so got that. This is looking at the basic search that Amy brought up on Tuesday with the with the common issue of citations that all seem like the same thing. And as you asked Dan on Tuesday, and I confirmed that the citations from ALMA and citations from CDI will never deduplicate or FRBRize. So that's.
Could I expand on that comment actually?
What's that?
I want to expand on that comment only because
yeah.
I didn't have my headset 2 days ago, but I have it now. So I'm kind of playing catch up with a couple of things that we instituted in the middle of the pandemic that worked well for then. And now we're sort of like working on integrating that into normal everyday, like we're back to normal kind of operations. And part of that was a new feature from ProQuest's LibCentral for auto ebook holdings integration with ALMA. So I'm still not really sure how it works, and that's bad. We went live with something without really knowing how it works. I want to say it's matching on CDI metadata. It's probably not though. I just don't know what the specifics are there. But the dedupes that I have are actually regarding ebooks that are coming over through that new auto holdings integration. Yeah, and we would like to dedupe it with our local print copies if that's possible. So half of it is me needing to just like sit down again and try to learn how that integration works. Is anyone else using that?
Yeah, well, let's just talk about a couple of basics for this and then we'll get to that, Dan. Because what I want to, what I want to illustrate is something that's very simple to do that will help you understand, if you have duplicates and where you have duplicates. And that is for a search like this, where you've got a number of, seemingly similar identical citations, you can, scope the search to either ALMA, which is going to be your library catalog, and that'll include anything that you have cataloged in ALMA, whether it's electronic or physical. And there you can see what kind of, what kind of duplication you have, or what's going on the ALMA side. And then you can scope to articles only to just search the CDI and see what's coming from the CDI side. So that's a very simple way to break down the problem in Primo VE to see what's going on. So in this particular case, we see we've got, 2 citations in ALMA for this nurse's pocket guide. And just looking at the brief results, we can see one is physical and one is electronic. And so those aren't, they're not close enough in metadata content to either deduplicate or FRBRize. And then on the article side, we've got a number of citations which are going to be referencing, or we could further analyze these to see where these are coming from, why we're getting these citations. But just that simple act of scoping the search will let you see, break down the problem so you can try to address or understand what's even going on. Another simple thing to start with is to look at and this is more FYI, and it's worth double checking in your own environments, but I don't think there's anywhere we found any reason to turn off deduplication or FRBRization in Primo. But if you go to in ALMA, go to discovery, look at your views, because the dedupe and FRBR are configured at the view level. We can see so brief result. Oh yeah, okay. So on the brief results tab for the view in Primo, you can see where you can enable or disable FRBRization and dedupe. And I don't know if we've had any cases where we've disabled these in any environments. The argument for the one that libraries sometimes disable is dedupe, and that a good argument example that's usually given there is something like the Bible, where you might end up, the different versions of the Bible are important to users, and you may want to reference one versus the other. But if you enable dedupe on something like that, you might end up showing just one record in Primo instead of all, King James versus other versions. So that would be a case where you might disable dedupe so that so that for a record like that, where differentiation is important, even though they might be close enough to dedupe, you can manage that.
I have a quick question. So in Primo terms, what is the difference between deduping and FRBRizing?
Yeah,
Good
question. I was just about to mention dedupe is not even a thing that is going to be much of a concern for you guys. We don't, I can't say for certain, but I don't imagine that you guys have a lot of duplicate records in ALMA that are going to need to be deduped. That would be like, you have multiple copies of Call of the Wild and somehow you created new bib records for each copy instead of a single bib record, where it's really the same, it's the same identical book. So really dedupe is not going to be a big thing, in terms of dedupe versus FRBR. I think this is the page that has the best basic definitions of what dedupe is and FRBRization is. I mean, dedupe is not a, it's less codified in the sense that there aren't, working groups around what it means. FRBR has more of a external definition, based on the functional requirements for bibliographic records from international work groups that determine, how, the coming model of cataloging or just content organization, work expression, manifestation, instantiation, I can't speak very authoritatively on all of that stuff. If anybody wants to take a stab at what you think the difference is between dedupe and FRBR, or what FRBR means. I mean, dedupe is basically just, are these two things identical? And if so, even if they're separate records.
And FRBR is more creating a framework so that you can see what the relationships are between different things. So that, like, when we look at that nurses, whatever, like that nursing pocket guide, there's a 2006 version and a 2010 version, and they're different, but they are related to each other. So FRBR would allow you to see that you got different
May I offer
versions.
a sort of like another interpretation, maybe from like an end user perspective? It's like a student might see multiple ways of accessing something in a deduped record, whereas a user would see the fan of multiple cover arts with many different versions here in Primo if it's been FRBRized. Is that accurate?
Maybe, or like maybe that's the end goal.
Whenever Primo comes up, I've got the sense that people who don't like Primo want to talk about it in like, how does this appear to students thing? Like, once we skip past the logic of how it works and we just talk about user experience, people who are anti-Primo tend to like warm up to it. So I've been trying to like talk more about like, okay, so that's how it works at a like metadata level, but what is the actual like user experience consequence of it? I always thought that deduping a record sort of took, how to say it, part of the confusion with FRBR is that it creates all these different choices of what a person has access to or what a person should click into in order to get something, whereas a deduped record would not have that feature. I think that's been my experience with it.
Yeah, again, well, a couple of things that, yeah, again, I don't think that dedupe is really an issue for us, or something that you need to spend a lot of time thinking about, in the context of, technically what is dedupe and what is this ferberization thing. We just don't have duplicate records in ALMA that very often that are going to be even objects of deduplication consideration. And I'm certainly happy to be wrong on that if others disagree, but in a way, the term ferberization is kind of meaningless, because Ferber is just a model of metadata. It's not the process of determining at which level should you merge citations because they're close enough to be the same thing. Ferber doesn't make that the standard, what FRBR really represents doesn't really make that determination. And again, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but it's the process of deciding, should these 3 citations be shown? And again, remember, we're looking at CDI citations now. So there's not, and really, technically, what we call ferberization in Primo is really only for ALMA records. It's not for CDI records. CDI records are subject to something called match and merge, which is completely under the control of the CDI. There aren't tuning knobs for the match and merge CDI process. And I kind of clicked it kind of quickly, but on that page in our, and this is the this is the editing view of the page, but in the dedupe and Ferber, what is that? It's not the, no, that's right. Yeah, on this page, the match and merge is this page, and the Knowledge Center describes, how the CDI determines which citations to merge into a single one. And, at least as of the present time, there aren't, the tuning on the CDI match and merge is done on the CDI side. There's no tuning we do there. So it's, it's sort of, you can use this page to determine. We could spend a lot of time examining these citations to see why or why not things get merged. Let's see if we can find.
Sorry, Wade, there's a, for those of us in the office, I think it's coordinated across the entire system.
Yeah,
but
no, you're right. Yeah, I saw that.
Statewide.
I've not heard a single thing you said for like the last 2 minutes, because it's just been
okay.
blah, blah, blah. Sorry.
Is it still
Are
going
you
on?
under
or-
your desk, Dan?
I elected not to because I was doing the exercise mentally in my head. but yeah, it's ending now. Oh my god, that's loud. Holy cow.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I saw. I got a message from the neighborhood association here this morning. I didn't read it about that going on, so I was vaguely aware. I'm sure there are alarms going off around here, but I'm not close enough to anything to hear it. So yeah. So what I was talking about was the so really dedupe and FRBR only apply to ALMA records, not to the CDI. The CDI is handled externally through a process called, the match and merge process that attempts to, based on, all kinds of matching rules, determines what citations should be merged and presented as a single citation. And that you may recall vaguely when the CDI came out, when the transition occurred, and that was like a year and a half ago. In all that CDI content, there was discussion of this process, and it's sort of, when matching and merging occurs between citations, it's a sort of best of breed process where the citations, content from separate citations will actually be merged into a single citation that then is presented as a single citation with the resources available. Like, well, those are both from Elsevier. So let's see. I'm just trying to find so like where you have a citation like this from the CDI. So it's an article. We can see that it's available from a couple of different vendors, which means that there were citations there. Let's see, and I'm not sure how we tell. I'm going to assume that this citation was built from multiple sources, because there are multiple sources for this content. So if we looked at the gory details of the citation, this information might have come from two different places and was merged into one, rather than having two separate citations appearing in search results. So like where in our previous, instead of this article appearing multiple times in the search list, we get one, because the metadata, was based on these match and merge rules, were close enough that the citations were combined. CDI determined that, oh, this is the same article, and we should just put it under one citation and then point to whatever resources the user might have access to, as opposed to that previous search where we saw that whatever that citation was, we got multiple listings of that same article, because those citations, for whatever reason, for metadata reasons, just didn't adhere, or the CDI ran through its match and merge rules, and it didn't, based on the content in the citations, it couldn't match and merge those. So they're shown as separate citations. And again, that happens externally to anything under our control. So if there's something there that really bugs you or looks wrong, that's a Salesforce case, on those citations or on that search, to say, hey, these should be.
Wait, about that, I wanted to pivot the conversation from the sort of whys and hows, and my library right now is in a sort of doing mode. I think the pandemic months Yada yada, whatever. So here's a clear example of something that someone wants something to be done about it. You see the 2 copies of the book. Some of the metadata is a little bit different. The publishing year is a little bit different, but this is an example of what we're looking at. So the ebook record, the number 3 on the list, is coming through on the ebooks auto holding thing that ProQuest came out with about a year ago. And then we have 2 copies of a print book that are cataloged locally. I'm sorry, 1 copy of a print book that's cataloged locally. This is one of those instances where we even added it to, let me share one more link. So this is a link to the anti-racism collection that we've built out in Primo. So adding a title to the back end of a arbitrary collection in Primo is, you just look up that specific record in ALMA and then click add. So even on the ALMA side, it wasn't deduped, right? I saw 2 separate item records, or 2 separate bib records, one for the ebook version, one for the print version. So I added both. And so people were asking, well, wait, why are there's like 2 instances of this book in the collection? You should just click on the one book and you should see all the options present. So that's the space that I'm stuck in when it comes to deduping.
Yeah,
Is
well,
there anything I can do?
well, I mean, we could edit the local record so that it would dedupe if that's what you wanted. And that's actually a good segue into another thing we can look at in this conversation, which is the analysis tool inside of ALMA. So if we go to, and it's actually under configuration discovery, and it's because it's under discovery because that's where dedupe and FRBR apply. So I can compare.
I think this is more a FRBRization issue because this is a situation where the work is the same, but the expression is different. So you genuinely have 2 different copyright years on the records.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I just want to see if so these are the 2 MMS IDs for those 2, the physical and the electronic title records, and using the dedupe and FRBR. So first we're going to compare for dedupe, and this shows you all the keys, the matching points that ALMA calculates to determine if one record should be deduped with another. And these rules are adjustable, and we can look at that. We could actually try to come up with a key, a match to do this. Now, if we do FRBRization, keys match, records are not connected in DD. I'm not sure what that means.
So one thing that I might take a look at, like speaking as a cataloger, is in the bib record for the print copy, is there a 7XX field that says online version and that has the title of the ebook and the OCLC record number for the ebook? Because I think if that field were in there, those 2 records might FRBRize.
I'll have to check that out. That's a good tip. Thanks, Kirsty.
Well, and I'm confused by this because it does look like that these records should FRBRize and that they're not for some reason. I don't think all of the
What's that
keys. have-
second line, the key text, where it's got the 823 and the 639, those long numbers? What are those numbers?
This one is an index of, it's sort of an internal tracking number, and this is a hash of that tracking number. The keys is just an encoded version of that. And this, as I understand it, is like a sort of an index of records in a FRBRization group. And so, and I think so we might need to
So is there-
recalculate that key to, let's see, I'm just hang on, let me just do this. Um, so I want to.
So what exactly is keeping the match from happening, since they have the same author and title basically? And is there a way
Yeah.
that we can tweak the FRBRization stuff? Because you said that we could tweak some of the dedupe rules. Can we tweak some of the FRBR rules?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is telling us why the
I wonder if
why
this
the
is-
match isn't happening.
Like,
This can happen either records metadata has been changed but has not been re-indexed, or when the record matches the current record but it is connected to a different group that it also matches. So it's sort of a technical point, but a record can only participate in one FRBR group. So if yeah, and we should be able to, can we recalculate? Where the connections, oh no, let's see. So,
What is this database where the records need to be connected?
Well, that's, I assume that's the table of records that have been FRBRized.
This could also be a consequence of the PerQuest auto holdings feature. There's really not a lot of technical information that I was given about it. It was just an offer. Hey, would you want to try it out?
Mhm.
And to its credit, it actually does work really well. So when we were remote 100%, we wanted a very quick way for ebooks to just pop in. So we're sort of doing an ad hoc DDA model, and it works super good.
Okay, so here's how I'm going to try to recap. So I'm going to find that this is the physical record. I'm going to find matching records. So no record. So I'm going to recalculate the groups for that. So all I did was go to the find matching records tab and pasted the record ID for the physical and did recalculate. And I don't know if that's, I'm going to, no, it's not. So this shows you a little more about the keys, Kirsty, if you run it through find matching records. The dedupe key, which is basically is a set of records that dedupe with one another, that's basically like a database index, I think, for a record, and then I think to make comparison easier or something, they hash that into a key. Oh, but in terms of, tweaking the FRBR and dedupe rules, these are all of the keys for dedupe. These are all the keys for FRBR. And you can add your own keys. And I was looking at this yesterday.
What are the K1, K2, K3? Are those like levels of?
Those are there are dedupe key types for serials and non-serials. There are the out of the box keys that are those F numbers. And this table shows you what the field is, what the content is, which type, one or two, serial or non-serial it applies to. And then the FRBR keys, have a different table.
Oh, okay. So that if you see a K1, that means it's looking for author match. K3 is, so it's looking for an author match and a title match.
Yeah, and it has to be, and it's the combination in that case. If you just wanted to match on title, then you would do just a FRBR K3 rule. And that's where, like, if you did that, that's a kind of case where you might end up FRBRizing something like the Bible, where you don't really want to do that. I'm not certain on priority. I don't know if none means that it's not currently taking that into a, it's not currently calculating that.
If we change the priority, would that allow those two titles to FRBRize? Like if we made that high priority?
I believe the priority determines the order in which the keys apply. So again, I don't know if none means that this key is not being applied currently.
Change it and let's see what happens.
Let's look at the. I wanted to just do a quick eyeball of author and, well, author and title appear to be the same. Let's see, where did I go? Yeah.
Don't we have to wait for like a re-index though? If
Yeah.
we change that priority?
Yeah,
No,
like
I mean, that, remember Primo VE searches ALMA directly, so there's no re-indexing that's needed. But it may, I don't know how instantaneously changing that rule would
could we try that FRBR match again and see if there's any change there? Or yeah, the test utility.
yeah. No matching records there. Let's see. And did I change? Did we change a dedupe? Oh no, we changed FRBR.
Dan, would you be willing to open a case and ask why those two records aren't FRBRizing?
Happy to.
Because like that,
It's weird,
it
right?
seems like they should, because
Yeah.
the titles and the authors match. And
This actually is only one example. I could probably find others, but we haven't acquired as much over the last 2 years. Our money's been low.
Big surprise.
So, yeah, big surprise. There's only a handful of instances where this is going on right now, but we hope to sort of resume spending here in a little bit.
Compare these one more time. I mean, that's essentially why they aren't, they're matching, but they're not. And that's happening because either the records metadata has been changed, and that's more of a Primo VE thing, or a Primo thing, not Primo VE, because there's not, the records don't get re-indexed. Primo VE, we're searching ALMA natively, or when record matches the current record, but is connected to a different group that it also matches. So it's like, let's see if, I'm gonna see if the electronic is in a group somewhere. No, it doesn't show that. Let's recalculate that one too. See what that second part is saying is if that title, you know, if this title was already placed in a group with some other title, it couldn't be grouped with another group. You know, to your point, Dan, about the one record being from an automatic ProQuest activation, I don't, yeah, don't think that, you know, it's just an activation of a record in ALMA, whether it's done because some job did it or you did it through a manual activation. That shouldn't matter. What might, I don't think, I'm going to look at see if there's, and I don't think these other settings matter. The defined FRBR display for local records, generic or preferred, that shouldn't matter for this. You can prefer like the physical or the electronic if you want, like if those records did get FRBRized, you could use those knobs to say, you know, use the physical record for what's shown in Primo, or use the electronic record for what's shown in Primo. But
So that might be a situation where, like, if you know that you have higher quality OCLC records or subject headings for the physical copy, you want that to display versus a community zone record that might not have many subject headings.
Wait a second. Wait. That fifth record that you were just looking at, Wade, is correctly deduped.
Well, this is a CDI citation. So this is
but it's right. I mean, it's showing both the physical and print manifestations of the work.
Yeah.
It has a view it section and a get it section. How come I don't see that in my results? Wait a second. Oh, there it is.
And it's showing further down the list.
That's new. This is new.
Up higher.
Yeah, I think this actually just happened because we changed. Okay, it's the high priority thing. It's actually happening. So I just refreshed my search results and I'm seeing multiple versions for biased. So it's being FRBRized now. So go back to the search results here. And the two discrete records that are number 2 and number 3 right now on the list have been collapsed into a 2, just 1 second result item with 2 versions found. And no cover art. It's a second item. Nope, go back up.
Oh, I see. Oh, and this is the CDI citation. I see what you're saying.
So it Ferberized, but now it's
I-
not
I-
grabbing the cover art.
I don't understand this citation because this is a CDI citation. I don't understand that, but yeah, I agree. This is the result of us either enabling that rule or recalculating the purpose. And actually, let's I'm not keeping track of the
Not to jump ahead, but one of the things that, again, thinking about Primo as a user experience thing, not as a metadata delivery tool. I just see so many barriers with Ferberizing items. Like it's an important learning thing. It's an important thing for students who are going into academic careers to understand, but I could see so many complaints about it. Just like, no, we know what we want. Don't keep adding like new links to click through. Every step has like a chance to cause someone to sort of drop off the transaction. It's
So,
not
all
a-
right, I guess is the bottom line there, Dan, that you think you should disable ferberization in Dedup?
No,
Or-
I think I'm just complaining
Yeah.
about how other people engage this work.
Yeah, I mean, the root cause, the universe we can't change is the complexity of the metadata and interpreting what you're looking at. And that's, I
mean,
guess that's,
yeah, there's a little bit of it, like you can't have it both ways. If you want people to see that, hey, you have 2 distinct versions of something, then either you have a platform that presents both versions as separate, or you have a platform that doesn't provide you with information about one of the versions.
Yeah. So like in our collection now, it's actually showing the Ferber record as the sort of main item to select action in our Primo collection. And then when you click on it, it actually defers to the electronic, but then there's an option to see all versions for it. But it is bugging me that the Ferber sort of, what is the Ferber record called? Is it just like a, what would we, how do we refer to that correctly?
I don't know. Yeah, that's what
Whatever
Yeah,
the Ferber record would be called is not showing cover art, which is also really important.
possibly if we changed, let's do this, let's prefer the physical. Oh, I see. So let's prefer physical. I just wonder if,
No, wait, I go back to what you did before. This ebook and print, they're being Ferberized, not deduped. So definitely create a criteria for the Ferber preferred record.
yeah, that's what I was just going to use let's see.
Yeah, you'll have to create criteria from scratch.
We might want to change the dedupe setting then. Back to none at the bottom. Hey, the cover art for the FRBR thing's there. That's good. And it's defaulting to the print record and the brief record. I'm sorry, print call number and the brief record.
You're seeing cover art on the multiple versions.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna call it the FRBR record. So I'm like
Yeah.
sitting here with the search results window open and I'm just hitting Control F5 every time you do something in ALMA.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So that did, yeah, that brought back.
But so click it and it's lost its view it section. Which might be correct because it's preferring the print version, which is fine, but I think my personal my personal instinct would be to prefer the electronic.
Yeah.
In which case, you might, well, let's see, if we do that, but we lose the
call number and the brief record.
well,
Yeah.
the cover art.
You think? Just with changing the criteria back? Not back, but changing the criteria to electronic. Oh, we can't edit it. That's okay. Oh, Alma.
And I'm not sure, this is a little tricky because it's
Oh, okay.
looking at what is that, the fixed field 5 or 6? And how do we know what, especially on the that's another way we could do this. Availability. Can we select? Oh, here we go. Oh, we're trying to.
Ooh.
Let's do refresh. Still deferring to print, but it might just be a time thing. Now it's changed. Okay, 2 versions down and it's defaulting to only showing the bold text available. I'm sorry, the electronic copy. And then if you click through to the FRBR versions, you'll see the print. And I know that this is a common thing that's discussed, but this is one of those pain points as part of like teaching students on how to search for this type of information. That multiple versions aspect is very difficult to call out in Target until it becomes really easy to call out in Target. And then I think students want to look there every time. But yeah, just repeating, I think, a common frustration on teaching it.
It's funny, mine's still showing the physical as the. Which is.
Clear the cache.
I just do Control F5. It'll do a hard refresh and do like a new data call against ALMA.
Mine's still showing. But anyways. I'm sure if you're seeing it, then that desired effect. Yeah, the issue, yeah, I mean, yeah, one issue that's just the I mean, the main issue is complexity of metadata, modern library industrial ecosystem. And, you know, do you want to dumb it down? Do you want to teach the complexity? Do you want to, you know,
Yeah,
you can simplify by separating and just, you know, just having, although it doesn't, you know, just having a catalog for your physical stuff and then some other tool for all your electronic stuff is one way to approach it. I mean, that makes it simpler to understand, but it doesn't. It means two different searches. That's the trade-off.
Yeah, I gotta go too. I just saw the message from Kirsty. It's F. But this meeting's been very helpful. Thanks for exploring those settings with me. I'll keep exploring those. And I think I'm still gonna open a case with Ex Libris. Just to mention, like, I had to change the setting, which I felt like maybe I shouldn't have had to.
Yeah, well, and I'm not sure. I think that what fixed it was recalculating the FRBR group for the records, not the edit we made to the.
Oh, really? Okay.
And the edit we made to this, and in fact, we could set this back.
I think it was at none.
None, yeah. 'Cause I'm a little, you know, I'm changing those keys has a big effect. It may, you know, it may have unintentional effects that might not be, you know, fixing it for one thing might break it for another. So,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, now I'm seeing the two versions with the electronics, so that finally updated for me. And it may be that, yeah, somewhere in the path back to Edmund's ALMA from where I'm at, the data was being cached, like on a load balancing server or something.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for all your help on this. I do gotta go. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording. I don't know if we've got still on the
See everyone
call,
on
or does
Tuesday.
anybody? I see. Yeah, there looks like we had a couple other people joining. I don't know if anybody has. We're over time. I don't know if anybody has any concluding thoughts or questions or other things they wanted to explore in this. I mean, and we can certainly do it in other calls. And, I think we probably created as many questions as answers, which is always good. But I'm going to go ahead and doesn't sound like I'm going to go ahead and